a listen. And now you have the visual that goes with what we're about to listen to. Just if that's not intimidating as fuck as your opposing team, like I don't know what is. Hit it, David.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of A Life in Six Songs. I'm your host, David Reese, and I'm joined by my co-host, Carolina, who also happens to be my wife, and my childhood friend, Raza.
Hi there.
For those of you that are new to the podcast, the whole goal here is each week we embark on an epic adventure to find the songs that are stuck to us like audible tattoos that tell us who we are and who we've been. It's a life story told through 6 songs, so let's go have a listen together. This week is super exciting. It's our first episode with our outside guests. The first few episodes we interviewed each other, the three of us, so you could get to know us. So if you haven't watched those, make sure you go back and check those out. And so, yeah, I'm just super excited about our guest today. It's the reason why I wanted to do this podcast, to just get connected with people in my life and have these great conversations. So our guest today is Andrea Sneed, who I've known since high school. I'll give you a quick little rundown of her professional biography. Andrea has been a professional and advocate for diversity, equity, and inclusion for over 20 years and has proudly served 10 of those as a spirited facilitator. She joined the United States Tennis Association as Director of Diversity and Inclusion in July of 2021 and works closely with Community Tennis, the sections, the USTA Foundation, and others to increase awareness, relevance, and engagement among diverse communities. Andrea holds a bachelor's degree in business, a master's degree in interdisciplinary studies, and is currently pursuing a doctoral degree in business. When she is not watching sports, she spends her time working with a collective of women, growing the sport of women's tackle football with the Women's National Football Conference, the WNFC. Andrea, welcome.
Hey, yo.
Oh, this is so great. So good to have you on and get doing this. We'll get into all kinds of stuff. I'm going to hand it over to Carolina, who's going to kind of get us going here.
Well, Hey, Carolina.
Hey. I love that you're our first guest. Like, I love that it's an old friend. I love that it feels like family, like exactly the environment that we wanted. So we're all super pumped to have you. I did not go to high school with you. Raza and David did. So I'm going to sit back and let you all reminisce quite a bit. And I'm excited about that.
I don't know if that's a good thing.
It is what it is. We're about to see. So we're going to kind of start off by throwing you a little bit in the deep end. These things are journeys and they're quite a ride. They've got ups and downs as our lives do. So we're going to start a little bit in the deep end today and ask you, the first song is around a time that you were having just a difficult time. What song kind of helped you through that? And what was that situation?
I would probably say the first one would be, well, first of all, thank you for allowing me to be your first guest. I really need to say that first. So thank you for allowing me to be your first guest. Because like the amazing NASCAR driver said, if you ain't first, you're last. So, and you're throwing me in the deep end. It's cool. I know how to swim. So regardless of what the stereotype may say, that song has to be Greatest Love of All for me. It really jump-started the very, very, very unhealthy obsession that I have with Whitney Houston. It's pretty bad. It's so bad that
Still going, isn't it?
it is still going.
Oh,
It is still going.
look at the reveal.
Yeah. There's even a photo on the back.
Oh
So
my.
yeah, it's pretty bad. R.I.P. R.I.P. The reason that song is so close to me though is in how this all kind of came about. It's one of those kind of morbid little things that happen. I remember distinctly. It's like so vivid. So that's why I love, the name of this, Life in 6 Songs. Literally, it's so vivid. I remember being in our house in Fort Lauderdale and Blueberry Hill. We lived, was hilarious, but I remember being in the kitchen area and my mom was on the phone and I overheard her talking to who I know now was my uncle in Tampa. And we lived back and forth with my great grandmother. I mostly grew up with my great grandmother and didn't really live with my mom completely, right? So we were going back and forth to Tampa, to Fort Lauderdale, Tampa to Fort Lauderdale. So in sixth grade, I overheard that conversation, and it was about my grandmother had passed away, and I was super close to her. She was, essentially like my mom, because that wasn't really. It was just a strange kind of relationship there because we were going back and forth. So I just remember running in my room, and we didn't necessarily grow up in the church, but I was pretty religious at the time, and I just remember getting on my knees because that's what you do, and you're in the church, you get on your knees and you pray, and Jesus takes away everything. And I'm just like, she's not dead, she's not dead, she's not dead, and I'm 10 at this time. She's not dead, she's not dead, she's not dead, and then, no lie, my grandmother, rest her soul, my mom's mom, comes into the room, because the one that passed away was my grandfather's mom, comes into the room and she says, your great grandmother died, right? Legit, that's how she broke the news to me. And she just closes the door, she leaves, and it was like I was paralyzed, didn't know what to do. Turned on the radio. I shit you not. Turn on the radio. 105, yeah. Hot 105, that's what it was.
Hot 105.
Hot 105. Yeah. Turn on the radio, and this woman is belting this amazing and incredible, beautiful song. I had heard, Whitney Houston before, but in that moment, it just became like a blanket. And I laid there, and just streams of tears ran down my face, and it was just, it was pretty epic. It was like it was out of a movie. But then what started happening after that was just, it was not good. I tried to find everything I could on this woman. I needed to know her life. I needed to know everything about her, and was truly, truly obsessive, all because it was so connected to somebody that was so important to me. So, I mean, I remember in high school, I would write my name on the paper and I would put Nippy, and that was Whitney Houston's nickname.
That was her nickname.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Who does that? It's pretty stalkerish. I wrote letters to her. So one time I wrote I guess I wrote so many, they mailed me. I'm not lying. They mailed me a Whitney Houston fan club card, because they're like, please stop.
We gotta give her something.
Right. Please stop. Please stop this little girl. And it never stopped, and it's basically how my wife and I got together, honestly. Yeah. Because she has a very unhealthy obsession too.
With Whitney Houston?
With Whitney. She's got a whole tattoo and everything.
Oh my God.
Oh wow.
Yeah. And we didn't meet until, in our 30s. So
see, Whitney came back to pay you a solid and help you find your soulmate.
It was
Let's
it was unhealthy.
Let's take a quick let's take a quick listen to the
Oh
song, and then
boy.
we'll chat on the other side.
Yeah. Look, and I want to sing it. Woo!
I know.
This man's doing the drums. That's all he hears is the drum.
Always.
It's great.
Little truth to that. No, it was funny actually when I was, preparing for today's episode and pulling out the clips.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, this is like towards the end of the song when she really kind of hits it, and I was like, that's got to be the clip, because that's just where you feel it. And then Carolina was actually sitting next to me, and I was talking, and she was like, is it weird to just kind of go right into this epic thing? And we're like, yeah,
that's what you're supposed to do.
It was, yeah.
It's an epic start, is what it
so
is.
So good. It's so good. Such a great song.
How does it feel, just the associated memories and everything you shared? Like, how does it feel listening to it now?
Yeah, I think every time I listen to a Whitney song, I rarely listen to that song because of that. And it didn't make me think about that until I was writing things down. And I said, crap, I really don't listen to that song specifically a whole ton. And, doing this made me really kind of go through and think about why don't I listen to that song? It's one of her best, right? And it's one of the most known, but it takes me literally right back to that moment. And I think every last song I have and I think about in those moments that are in those pinnacle times for me, it's because it literally takes me and transports me back to that moment. And it brings up all kind of good feelings, happy feelings, sad feelings, funny things. Like, I think now, early on, I was really upset for a really long time about how my grandma told me how my grandmother died. But I think now I look back and I'm like, yeah, I don't want to tell a 10-year-old how a family member that they were close to, that I do not want to tell someone like that, because it was, a little cold, and I don't think she meant it that way. I think it really was, well, she's 10, she probably won't really understand, or, that kind of thing. So it was just really, really interesting. And I've had a lot of loss in my life, a lot of very close people to me. So I know that's really what I take from that is, all right, well, she loved me, but hey, Whitney came out of it. My very unhealthy obsession.
I think David and I were talking about it last night as we were preparing the songs for today, and particularly that song. And we were like, just how popular that song was. Like, I think each of us had a memory of like singing it at like elementary or middle school recitals.
Yeah.
I was like, is this the song that like catapulted all the phrases around like children are the future and stuff?
Yeah.
Like, I think the song was everywhere at the time. And trying to sing to Whitney Houston is like an exercise in itself. Like, you get to that chorus and you're like,
yeah,
I don't have the lung capacity.
By
like,
the end of the songs, you're exhausted, because she put so much into it, and you got to put all of that into it. And I dabble in a little karaoke, but I stay away from Whitney songs because they just evoke so much emotion, and I'll probably start crying on the stage, and that would just be awkward for people. I don't want people to see that. I want them to have fun.
Yeah, not to be even more morbid, but I mean,
obviously,
Whitney's not around anymore. I mean, how was that for you? Was that, I mean, it started, you were exposed to Whitney, in a pretty significant, moment, and then, and obviously Whitney's not around anymore.
Yeah.
So I guess just how does that What sort of emotion does that bring up?
I cried for days. It was really bad. I cried for days. Yeah. I actually had surgery. um and I was, again, one of these things I'll never forget. I think a lot of people, oh, I remember where Michael Jackson was, and I remember I was on my couch. My son was really young at the time, and I was a single parent, so it was already, you know, tough because I was at home and I couldn't take him to school. So because I was on medical leave for about a couple weeks after my surgery, and so he was home with me that entire time. And all of a sudden, this just breaks, and he is unsure of what's happening to his mother because I'm like on the ground, and it's the most dramatic cries too. But
Oh man.
I was in pain. It and I'm not even embarrassed to say it. Right? She was so impactful for me my entire life, and just the how everything went down with her, and what went down, and just the drugs and everything. And I mean, I was angry when people would say she's a drug head. You better watch it. Don't you talk about it. It was as if somebody was talking about.
Nobody talks about Whitney.
No. Did I say that to you once? Because I literally would say that. I would literally say that to people. Don't talk about Whitney Houston around me. That is not okay. And my wife, again, with her unhealthy obsession, we would say that to our kids. You even. She is
Respect.
the greatest. You hush your face right now. it's pretty bad. Yeah. But no, Raza, that's such a great question. But yeah, I was pretty devastated for a very long time, and still to this day, things will happen. Like her birthday is coming up really soon, 4 days from now. But you didn't hear me say that. So it's always a tough time.
Yeah. Yep. I think one of the sort of common denominators we've had, and this is just episode number, I guess, 4. You're the first sort of, outsider, but the three of us, and now you are sort of carrying on that trend of, we all have that sort of one celebrity.
Did you just call me an outsider? What? I wanted to try to skip over that. I'm an outsider? Okay. Stop othering me, Raza. Stop othering me.
Well, okay. Scratch that. Andrea's the next fourth host.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Raza. Sorry.
The first official guest. How about that?
There we go.
But I think we all have sort of that one celebrity or the one singer, songwriter, entertainer. We don't know them in person, but we feel connected, right? And I think for almost all of us, I have one, Dave has one. I think Carolina mentioned one. They're not around. Like whoever our sort of celebrity crush or celebrity person that we just feel connected to, and they spoke to us in some way.
Yeah.
And they're not around. Rock stars don't live that long for whatever reason, and I think that's another kind of running theme here as well. And it is hard. I've got my person. Dave's got his person.
Who is it for y'all? Who is it for you, Raza?
Dave, you go first.
All right.
Yeah. So for me,
I'll go first. Okay. So for me, it was. And Andrea, you might even remember.
We see who's running this interview. I just want to point that out. We are not in charge.
We lost control of the bus here.
It's done. That's what happens when you have a facilitator on. It's hard. Like, what is it for you? How do you feel right now?
I don't know if Dave, you probably remember this, but Andrea, I don't know if you remember, but back in high school, I used to wear I was in heavy metal mode. Yeah. It was black t-shirt. There was this O and then minus sign, green O negative. That was type O negative. Okay. And yeah, their singer. That was my band back then. And then I think it was about 2010. Their singer Peter Steele, he died, and it was just like, oh no, like my life just for a good week or so, just like, how am I gonna, what? Forget like the no more music
Yeah.
from these guys, but just this person who you think you could relate to, and their music helped you through really tough times and stuff like that, and you don't know them.
Yeah.
Like if I saw this dude on the street, be like, get the fuck away from me.
Who are you?
But exactly, creepy. So yeah, so that was mine.
By you,
Yeah.
David?
Mine is Neil Peart, the drummer and lyricist for Rush. Anyone who knows me apparently knows me as the Rush
Yep.
fan,
The
as
Rush guy.
all the heads are nodding. And so, yeah, he passed away right at the beginning of 2020,
Wow.
unexpectedly, right?
Wow.
I mean, he was in his early 60s or 60s, but yeah, brain cancer, and it was
Gosh.
yeah, it was tough.
Yeah.
It was tough because I mean that's someone that's there for me. Like that's who I was drumming to. He was a writer also. I read his books, and I felt
Wow.
like a similar type of personality in ways to me. And so, and this is what's like so great about these stories, and what I wanted to get out with the podcast is because look, we have different people for us, right?
Mhm.
For you, it's Whitney Houston. For me, it was Neil Peart. However, the feeling of that is the same. And
Yep.
so you telling me that about Whitney, if I think about Whitney Houston, I don't necessarily get it because that's not the person for me.
Yep.
But if I think about my person, I'm like, oh, I totally get it, right? And
Yep.
so the specifics are different, but the underlying relation is the same, and we have these moments. And so
Yep.
yeah, that's what we want to share. And so thank you for sharing all of this so far.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're
Thank
only on
you.
the first song, and we're this is going to be like an
Right.
8-hour
It's
podcast
okay.
at this
It's all
rate.
right.
So
Carolina, real quick, do you have someone like that for you?
I don't have a specific person, but what does happen to me quite a bit, and I just recently I was having this conversation with our daughter Bella about the 27 Club and all of these
Yeah.
epic performers who died young at 27 for all different kinds of
Mhm.
reasons, mostly usually drug related and stuff like that. But what I find a lot are those artists that inspire you, and now even more so just with social media, like how much access we have to their lives.
Yep.
And we get to know them as people, and how much we're like rooting for them. And when they die or things don't turn out, like it hits you personally about like your own life and where you're headed. And this can happen to me. I had a strangely hard time with Twitch's death. The dancer
Yeah.
and Ellen's
DJ,
DJ and stuff
yeah.
like that,
Oh yeah.
who left behind a very, very young family and the circumstances of it. And I struggle with that, not because I was just like an epic, huge fan, but like the people that you think are the happiest, the people that you're rooting for,
Mhm.
that like make you feel like, hey, life is going to be okay.
Yep.
When they die, it really rocks your world.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
whatever perspective you had on like, are things going to be okay for me?
Yeah.
Like if they can't be okay for these folks with all the resources and all the things and talent, like
Yep.
the loss of voices and lyrics and art by people like Whitney and Neil and I'm forgetting your guy's name, Raza, but now
Peter Steele.
after hearing his music recently in your episode, like epic voices that we don't get to hear again. It just makes me like super sad. I struggle with it quite a bit.
yeah.
Although I will
Yeah, there's
say,
that saying. There's that saying of people don't pretend to be unwell. They pretend to be okay. Right. And so yeah.
Sorry, Raza, you were going to say something when
oh yeah, no, I was just gonna, if there's any tiny bit of silver lining in this, is that they've left behind this catalog, this legacy, and it's like the fact that we can still talk about Whitney, and we can still talk about Rush, and we can still talk about Typo and Twitch. That's I guess that's a consolation prize, but I mean we do have that, and I guess I'm glad for that a lot of people leave behind nothing.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, true.
Suffer in silence and leave behind nothing,
It's true.
and yeah.
I mean, our wedding party was definitely Whitney inspired. It was a karaoke wedding party that we did all the my wife's mom did all the decorations for, and she ordered Whitney Houston records, and they were the centerpieces, and she got these. They're really creative. I am not that. I'm a musician. That's all I got. And they had these little mason jars, and inside of the mason jars were the lyrics to Lover for Life, which is my hands down favorite Whitney Houston song that not very many people know, but it was, I just always said excuse me, I just always said, wow, that's such a great song to maybe get married to or something like that. So that's what we did. And knowing that I had a wife who was equally obsessed with Whitney was great. She always said she notches me because she, right here on her arm, she has a microphone and Whitney's initials. So whatever. I guess she wins.
Not that
Not
it's
a
a competition.
Oh, it's a competition.
No.
It's a competition.
Oh my
You saw
goodness.
how Raza was like, when I challenged him, I said, "What are you scared to say you're a person?" And he's like, "Oh, well, I'll say my person." It's always a competition. Always a competition. I picked up on that.
If I had sleeves, I'd roll them up.
Oh, I'm sure.
Hats. Oh my God.
Oh,
All right.
all right.
I'm
Where are we at?
gonna move us ahead,
Yeah.
or this is gonna be a life in one
Yeah,
song.
a life in
podcast.
one song.
We
Nice.
derailed so fast.
So
Our
fast.
first guest interview.
Sorry.
I think just the story about learning about your great grandmother's death.
Mhm.
That's really life changing and perspective changing for a kid, right? The coming to terms with the fact that life ends, like that's a lot for a little kid to process and digest. But there's other times in your life when you're exposed to new perspectives, new genres, new things, right? We don't ever stop learning. So for your next song, what was a song that kind of opened you up to entirely new perspective, and how did that happen?
Yeah, it was definitely Right Through You by Alanis Morissette. And sometimes I'll get in my car and I'm like, I've got a playlist that says alternative, and it's everything that I say is alternative. So, which is basically everything that's not R&B and hip hop. So goes into that.
I mean, there's truth in that. It's an alternative to
much,
R&B and hip hop. Yeah.
So it is an alternative. So that actually was the song. I heard that song, and as a musician, I actually love to sing as well, right? So I didn't really do that much in high school, but I absolutely loved to sing, and I think it's what drew me to music and playing music in the first place. So I heard this song and this woman's voice and what she could do with it, and the acoustic. There was an acoustic version that she did. You remember when MTV used to do those acoustic? I can't remember what they used.
Unplugged.
Yeah, the Unplugged, and she did that, and it just blew my mind, and I started looking up all of these other things, and I think I heard in Caroline in your podcast, I think it was Raza who said something. Oh no, maybe it was David who said something about ska music, and I'm like, it turned me on to No Doubt and just this whole group, Blind Melon, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what is? These are great, and I absolutely fell in love with that sound in the 90s, and again, still going. There's just days where I need to listen, and that song always starts it. For some reason, I always start with that song, and I just go down a rabbit hole.
Let's take a listen.
You took me for a joke. You took me for a child. You took a long, hard look at my ass and then played golf for a while. You shake us like a fish. You pat me on the head. Took me out to wine dine 69 me, but didn't hear a damn word I said. She right I know right
Like
You
we're
can
all
tell the
bobbing our
band,
heads.
the band, the band people. You can always tell the band people because we hear everything,
Yeah.
everything, and I think that's what I love about really this type of music, this genre of music. It makes me think of the different band instruments that are a part of it, right? I think sometimes in hip hop or R&B we don't really always get that because everything is always sometimes so synthesized or it's just a track
Yeah.
that's laid, but the live music, I think that's why I loved Prince so much because he played all of these different instruments, but um that song specifically, and I started going down this rabbit hole with Alanis, and then all of a sudden I learned that she had made previous albums and they were more like pop. And I was like, what is this? Oh,
Really?
this is bad. Yeah, she made albums before that, and she did you know she used to date Joey from Full House?
No.
Oh,
I know she
Uncle
was with
Joey.
like
She dated Uncle
Ryan
Joey.
Reynolds for a hot bit or something
Wow.
like
What? I
that.
didn't know that.
I think so.
This
Oh
became
crap!
like
I
this
just gonna
weird
start a
thing,
rumor
but
that ain't true. We'll verify that. But
it's okay.
Right,
She'll
right.
you know,
We got to
he's
be careful.
Canadian. She's
She'll be
Canadian.
back. She'll be okay. But yeah, I think just all of those things are very fascinating to me, and just I loved her voice, and she really she did it up in the '90s, man. She did it up in the '90s.
Her voice was amazing. It
Yeah.
was probably the first time that I heard, like, I mean, she was very that. I'm not. Is this from that same the Jagged Little Pill album?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, that was and that first single, "You Ought to Know," is just like, wow,
Oh my
okay,
gosh.
she's angry. That's the first time I've heard like female anger in a song, but then there's sarcasm and there's
Yes.
emotion and there's like a little bit of vengeance and revenge and like a fu, it was, yeah, it's all that lumped. It was, and by the way, she was 19 when that album came out, so whatever
Shut
pop stuff she
up.
did was even before that. Yeah.
Yes. That's what?
Yeah.
Right? What?
Totally.
So good.
Yeah.
She was. I don't think she was underrated at the time, but I don't think people talk about her now when they talk about the great '90s grunge. Yeah,
Grunge.
great '90s grunge music things.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
don't really talk about her when, at least now, when I hear people talk about folks, but Blink 182, all those folks, but I don't hear Alanis. But she was angry, Raza.
You
She
know,
was angry.
Taylor Hawkins just passed away, right? Another great, Foo Fighters,
Yep.
drummer for Foo Fighters. And I remember watching one of the memorial shows that they did for him, because Taylor Hawkins is playing drums even on this track. I think he played drums for that
Wow.
entire album.
For
Yeah, he
her,
was like
yeah.
a session guy then.
Yep.
So Alanis got
Awesome.
on stage and played "You Ought to Know" at the Taylor Hawkins memorial.
Oh, God.
That, if you guys can find a video
Wow.
of that,
I gotta look that up.
epic.
His memorial concert, I want to say, was nominated for an Emmy or something like that
Wow.
Oh, okay, makes sense.
because it was so like
Nice.
epic.
That's amazing.
If we find it, we'll link it in the show notes.
Yeah,
people can
that's
find it, too.
awesome.
Um,
Yeah, I didn't know
when
that.
I
Great
was
song,
That's
though.
awesome.
when I was listening to it last night, and I was thinking about like my connection to Alanis Morissette, also as a person that came of age in the '90s, and how she spoke to me, and I was like, there were other artists at the time. I feel like there was this like uncovering of female artists that, were cursing and just like had this rage and talking about these things that like I felt too, like the revenge and just the pain of breakups, but in this very like F you kind of way, not this just like, oh, like my heart is broken, kind of way.
Right.
And I was like,
right.
who else was from this time? And it was like Hole, right? Courtney Love's band was like raging and rocking. Garbage, No Doubt. Even like sultry, like Fiona Apple, and just like all of these artists.
Oh my god, she was so good.
in that little like microcosm of a time.
Wasn't
that
the
were just
Cranberries
so-
too? Wasn't
The
their lead
Cranberries.
singer?
She
Yeah.
passed away as well.
She passed away as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dolores
But
O'Riordan.
just
Yeah.
phenomenal time, I think,
So
in
good.
female driven led music. that we were lucky enough to grow up in.
You know, even I think even I seem to remember Sheryl Crow was really big around that time too. I didn't really listen to Sheryl Crow, but I just remember, like you said, Carolina, all of these incredible women that it was like liberating their time in music, and the same was happening in hip hop at the time. The MC Lights, the Queen Latifahs, like the Lauryn Hills,
Yes.
it was happening in every genre of music, which was pretty phenomenal, honestly.
Yeah.
Gosh, we're such music heads. I love it. I am not a sneakerhead. I'm definitely a music head, though.
A music head. Yeah, I'm not a sneakerhead either.
It's a less expensive habit, so.
Facts. Unless you broke your tape. If you broke your tape, you're in trouble. You gotta go find a Peaches and go get another one.
Peaches.
I say that because I stood in line at Peaches at midnight to get a Whitney Houston album. Yeah, I was one of those.
Yes. There you go.
Nice.
For folks that are unfamiliar, Peaches was a record store chain in the United States. Frequented for everything, like when records would drop, right? You'd have to physically wait in line to go get them. We were explaining to Bella, our daughter, one day about like how you'd have to wait all night for concert tickets, right?
Yep.
And you're like in this line that wraps around the Peaches location, wherever it was. I think ours was like Sunrise near the beach, whatever. There was like one.
Yeah, it was about halfway to the beach from like Plantation.
So it's like you and a couple thousand people wrapped around this joint, and then you'd get up to the desk and like, but everybody else is, so either it was sold out by the time you got to the front, or they would have the laminated pictures of the stadium seating, you know, that you'd have to go there to like pick your seats.
I don't want to go.
Oh my God, shit was
there was
manual.
no online StubHub or nothing like that.
No, so that's what Peaches is for folks that are.
But that's where you met people too. That's where you met. Friends, and you just.
I was
met
just
people.
gonna say that. Yeah, you'd be sitting in the line, and you'd chatting because you got hours to kill. So you just start talking, and you're all fans of whatever group you're going to buy tickets for. So not
like
talking to anyone while I'm in the online queue. That's for sure.
Talking to yourself, which
isn't
always good, especially if you answer yourself. Yeah. Oh my goodness gracious!
All right, so just in thinking about,
we are trying to get through this.
I'm trying so hard. In thinking about just transitions in life and new perspectives and new genres, we'll kind of keep this thread going. Yeah. For your next song, what's a song that you associate with a weighty transition in your life, and if you're comfortable sharing, what was that transition?
Yeah, definitely coming out. I'm gay for the listeners. I think that you hear folks talk a lot about, when you come out, you're constantly coming out. You're coming out over and over and over and all of that. But they also don't always talk about how long the actual coming out takes, where you go from, I'm definitely in the closet. I don't want anyone to know, to, okay, I want this many people to know. I'll let this circle. And then maybe I'll okay, that circle's good. Maybe I'll add in this circle, because you have different circles and network of friends and family members, right? You've got your immediate family, your distant family. So that whole process took me a good 7 years, to where I, finally went from I was completely in the closet to I'm completely out, and I'm just, walking around and I don't care who knows I'm gay, right? I don't know what made me pause before I said gay, as if I was nervous to say I was gay. That was weird. But I actually didn't come out until I was 28. And then I think actually more along the lines of 20, we'll say 25. Because I had my son at 24, and I knew I was gay probably around 21. I had no clue. And I had no clue in high school. I would get mad when people would say, "Oh, she's, you're gay." Like, don't you call me gay? You want to fight? Let me. I think back and like, oh my God, I missed out on so many women Missed out on so many women. Let's. What was I thinking? And I remember distinctly too, the song that just kept coming up and coming up that I would go back to whenever I was just, no, I can't do this. Like, and it was a Yolanda Adams song. She's a gospel artist, and it's Open My Heart. And just, we were talking earlier about kind of the moments in the song where it just gets really big, and that song is just kind of smooth the whole way through, and then there's these little moments like kind of like this, and little crescendos, and then it goes back down, and little moments, and then it goes back down, but overall it's pretty smooth all the way through. And I would think, because everything would go through my mind: God's gonna hate me, I'm gonna go to hell, I'm gonna get killed or shot because people don't like gay people, and there's so many. Is anyone gonna? How am I gonna date a woman? This is crazy. I've only dated men, and I didn't really like dating men, but still, that's what you're supposed to do, right? I mean, I have a kid. How am I gonna? And you just start stressing, and you have all of this anxiety about all of these things, and then you tell that first circle, and that circle was incredible. Then you tell the next circle, and that circle was great. You tell the next one, and you're like, that didn't go so well. Let's go back in. Let's go back in. Let's go back in. And after every one of those moments, I just remember playing this song, and either, one day it's really uplifting and powerful, and then another day I'm super sad. So it just evokes so many strange feelings and emotions. So, and I love singing it too, because Yolanda Adams, talk about a voice.
Yes, another beautiful, beautiful voice. Let's take a listen.
Alone in a room, it's just me and you. I feel so lost, 'cause I don't know what to do. Now what if I choose the wrong thing to do? I'm so afraid of disappointing you. So I need to talk to you and ask you for your guidance, especially today.
Like those words. How did you know? How did you know, Yolanda? Yeah. Carolina, your face is like, yeah.
Well, I'm reading through your questionnaire and reading, like, specifically like what you just shared, right? What memory is tied to this song? And I hadn't heard it, so I cue it up, and she sings so clearly that like the lyrics are, and I'm just like, I just picture like not just you, but every kind of LGBTQ kid that's like sitting there trying to figure out how to do this, like alone, not wanting to disappoint their society, their parents, their loved ones, their, just like struggling and grappling with this choice. And I just want to like hug like somebody, like, but this song is just beautiful.
Yeah. I am so, my wife and I talk about this all the time. Just, I get so empowered by our youth, who are so brave to come out. I laugh and I kid and I joke about the women I missed out on. Okay, maybe that's not as much joke, but I digress. No, I kid about the women that I lost out on, but in all honesty, I really was lost in high school, and I really do truly believe that I probably would be doing not so great things had I not had band. I felt it kept me grounded. I was around a group of people who really did accept me for the nerdy musician that I was, and I really felt like I could be myself to a certain extent. If I knew one person that was gay in high school, I didn't know anyone. No one in my family. I didn't know anyone in high school. if I would have had just one person that was out, that, because I always say whenever I'm facilitating anything from a inclusionary standpoint and a culture standpoint, people go where they see themselves. If I would have had just one person, I really felt like it would have made my music better. I felt like it would have made me as a human being better. I probably could have. So that's why, youth that come out to their family, youth that are hiding from their family but out to their friends. I'm so empowered by just all of their bravery, because I think back, I'm like, I was not brave. The writing was on the wall. David, Raza, y'all cannot tell me y'all did not think I was gay.
Frank, I had no idea
Raza was
until.
Raza, your hair was covering everything. You couldn't really see anybody, but.
Oh, I remember so I remember you being a complete badass. I was like, Andrea, like you sort of lump people in different categories or whatever. Your category was badass. It wasn't related to. I had no idea about anyone's orientation, anything like that. I was going to actually ask you a question, and I want to approach this very, very sort of carefully, delicately, but. And you don't have to name names, but I'm curious about. You mentioned you came out to your circle.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm guessing it's different for different people. But was your circle like close family first and then went outward, or was it friends and then the last piece of the puzzle was your immediate family? How did that play out?
I'm good with naming names. The first people I came out to was, ironically, David, Amy DeLimba. We talked about Amy a little earlier, and I came out to Amy DeLimba, and there was a couple of other people that we hung out with, and it was Maya and Kalia, and I came out to those three first. And first of all of their reactions was, "Oh my God, finally!" Oh. I said, it was the dramatics for me. It was, all right, we need to go to dinner. I'll be in Fort Lauderdale, so please, let's get together. We need to talk. And we left. I can't even remember where our kids were, because Amy had her daughter and I had my son, and the kids were somewhere else. It's like, okay, so I have something to tell you all. I don't remember the restaurant, but I remember what it looked like. So I have something to tell you all, and they're like all on pins and needles. One of them was like, "Are you pregnant again?" I said, "No, that was not a fun experience for me. And I did that because I felt like I needed to, but glad I did because I love my son, but never again. No." And then finally I said, "I'm gay." And it was a literal, right? Do you have a girlfriend? Or I'm like, "No, I'm gay. That's the thing." And they said, "Yeah, we know." We were just waiting for you to figure it out.
Aww.
Yeah, and that was that reaction, and it was just, they were themselves, and it was just absolutely incredible. There were no hugs. Like, they didn't make a massive deal out of it. The thing that they did, which was absolutely hilarious, was, "So which one of us would you date?" And then when I told them, they're like, "Of course it's her." Oh my gosh. Yeah.
You gotta love your friends, right?
But yeah, no, that's a fantastic question, Raza. And it doesn't. I think years ago, again, during those 7 years, I probably would have never said that or wanted or felt comfortable to answer that question, because I really wasn't out, and I didn't realize it was that long of a span of time until I got to my job that I was at for 11 years. I worked at UCF for 11 years, and it was the very first job and place that I was fully out. And that was the last part of my kind of coming out transition, was when you're fully out at work, because at work it's even more difficult than it is coming out to your friends or to your family, in my opinion, because depending on where you work, because that's your livelihood. I had a kid to take care of. So if and you can't. Yes, you can't fire someone for that, but it happens, right?
It still happens.
We
Sure.
know it
Yeah,
happens.
the
So
risk is real.
I was really worried. I was really scared, and I think just meeting some of the people that I met with, and I remember them having these safe zone placards in their offices when I went on my interview, and I went around the office and they had these little safe zone. And if you don't know what safe zone is, it's basically a training for people to really learn and understand the LGBTQ plus community. And when you get this placard, it's a pride flag, and it says safe zone certified or something like that on it. So you go through this course so that people like me who are walking around this building are thinking, oh wow, okay, I'm okay here, I'm comfortable here. Well, my dumb self had no idea that that's what that was. I literally thought everyone was gay. I was going around.
Oh, you
So
thought the signs meant everyone?
That's awesome.
I literally thought everyone was gay. I thought, I'm home. And
I love that.
I was still the only one. I was still the only one. But it was, it was good. But that's the point, right? People go where they see themselves, and so yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it was good.
Awesome. No, thank you for sharing that, though.
Yeah.
Moving us ahead, but actually we're gonna move back. So
Uh-oh.
time traveled you a little bit there. We'll zoom out of kind of the heavy and the weighty transitions of your life, and we're gonna ask you for that song that instantly transports you back to a specific time and place in your life. What is it?
Santorini. And I'm not talking about Greece. I am talking about that's Greece, right?
Yes.
Gosh, it's so long. Can we edit? We're gonna edit. We're gonna edit that out, listeners. No.
Yeah.
Santorini by Yanni is a song that takes me and puts me in this red, white, and blue ugly ass uniform. Actually, the newer uniforms were way better than the older ones. With my horn in my hand, standing on the 50-yard line, raising it, waiting for the announcer to say, "Band, drum major, is your band ready?" That's what it makes me think of. And I put my freaking horn up, and me and my two friends are standing flanked of me, and we start playing. No one else is playing, and we start the playing. That's what I think about.
Whoa.
That's what I think about.
And do you remember what we were called?
Yep. We gonna do that right now?
No. We were talking about that last night. The fact of our high school's name and
yeah.
Listen.
Yeah.
Let me tell you about it. So we were the Plantation Colonels. Freshman year, I will never forget going in we had the PE, it was like PE and health kind of thing, sitting in this classroom. And again, I'm a freshman, sit in this classroom. I'm sitting in the back, which I knew I shouldn't have sat in the back because I got this thing with being a black person sitting in the back of a room, in case you're wondering. So I sat in the back and I was like, dang, I really don't want to sit in the back. I need to sit in the front. So I sat in the back, turned around, and it was this big ass mural of this racist looking colonel. I said, oh, where am I? I said, oh, this is going to be good. Even though the middle school went to Plantation Middle, it was still named the same, but that image of that colonel is seared into my brain. And of course, all of my friends make fun of, oh, you went to Plantation, hey, you're on the plantation. Okay. All right. Yep. Bring on all the jokes. Yeah. But they changed it to a C.
Problematic.
Yeah.
Like they're not the colonels anymore, right? What are they now?
I think it's still the colonels.
I don't think
or
it's
did
changed.
They change it? No, I don't think
I heard it changed that they're the plantation. Was it pythons or something? I heard they changed the mascot. Or there was talks of changing the mascot.
There was talks, but
Oh.
I remember when we were in high school, they actually changed it from. Remember, they had the Colonel that was on the helmets, and they changed it to the C, like the
C.
Cincinnati Reds C. So
Right.
yeah. So,
Okay.
but anyway, bands. That's what this goes back to. So
Yeah.
we ended up putting that. Our band director, shout out to V. David Carbone. That poor guy, man, we gave him hell. He was fresh out of college, but
just a few years older than us. Yeah.
My sister was older than him, David. My sister was older than him, so I would clash with him so much. Like, I don't have to listen to you. My sister's older than you. But then 5 minutes later, could you please play more? Because you're just so talented and so incredible. It was this weird Big Brother obsession, but him and his friends, they arranged this incredible arrangement of all of these Yanni songs, and it skyrocketed us into oblivion. I never looked at music the same again because he just, man.
Wow.
Yeah, still to this day.
Well, let's take a listen.
Yep.
Look at you go.
Because oh man, it's so exciting. And he did this our drum break was we were the only band. We had a full freaking orchestra pit on the sideline. Like, who does that for a marching band? We had timpanis, everything. It was just speechless. Raza, did you march with us that year?
No, so I had the big bass drum, but no, the drum line wasn't marching then. But we had that killer drum solo. Holy crap. I was telling Dave last time, so I can't read music. And so
what?
when no, I can't. Guitar tabs, but no, I could not tell you C from E to what on the music notation, no idea.
Wow.
So we learned that drum break, drum solo, like we learned it by ear. We did it in sections, and when we did, like the band camp, the infamous band camp, going into I guess 10th or 11th grade. Yeah, we learned it by ear. I know Dave. Dave, come on, Dave, he can do anything.
That guy.
So the snare drums basically taught the rest of us all of the little parts. We did it in sections, and
God,
yeah,
I did not know that. I did not know. Okay, so.
It's like mind blowing right now.
Process
Right?
that
I'm
for a
starting to go
second.
back to everything. I'm just thinking about because usually low brass and the drum line would always be on the bus for pretty much everything. But I'm just thinking about how we used to be on the bus, either to a competition or to a football game, and literally singing our parts on the bus, doing the show on the bus. We were
I remember that.
So in love with this show. And
we do a full run through. I want to say,
beating on the seats, and then for some reason we would then start to transition to. I don't know if you remember this, but I think about it all the time. We would transition to TV show theme songs.
Yes,
Weird, like the weirdest things, and to this day I still love TV show theme songs, but. Just the fact that this man, and I think it was him and Mike Deke that ended up doing this entire arrangement. I think people underestimate the band kids and the kids that marched and did competitions sometimes, at what goes into it. We may not have been football players on the field, right? But holy moly, our halftime shows, when he came in, oh my god! I mean, remember Mr. Hudson? Remember our show freshman year, David? Oh my god, it was so terrible. Carolina. We had like these white sheets, literal sheets on
like
our uniform.
Kind of like a cape, yeah. But they hung like on one side or something under the lapel. Yeah. But they were long. They would go like to your knee or something crazy.
Did it get in the way of the instruments? Yes, I would imagine. Oh dear.
It was so.
We had these long plumes. Like normally it's just like a little feather on top, but this was like, and all the parents were making them. It was this hanger, and then all of these metallic strips tied on them. So it was just
like a clothes hanger.
Yeah.
It David, I remember.
It's like a lion. Like
God, there's got to be a picture somewhere out there.
No, I hope they're all burned. I need them to be all burned.
I need to put a visual to this description.
Bugs would get caught. It was so unique. I just remember standing there and going like this.
It was so big, it would come down and come behind you. And it had, like I said, these streamers coming off. So they would kind of sit on your shoulder. And so the drum line, when we put our drums on, you've got these shoulder, I don't know, what do you call them? Shoulder
harness.
Thank you. And it would get stuck on there, but you wouldn't know at first. And then you try and turn your head and it was like, oh,
I'm in tears. It was so bad. But that's
imagining all kinds of people getting their heads jerked back by these boys.
Or they were just in a hole in the
Shako
hat, the
Shako
shape.
Shako.
Yes. Oh my goodness, all these terms I haven't mentioned in forever. And sometimes wind would catch someone's and it would spin around. So instead of going backwards like a mane, it would go forward like a little kitten toy and hanging in front where you could like.
You have to be still when you're at the competition. You have to be still. You can't move. So we're standing at attention, and you're going like this. Oh man! Oh, but that's what made all the not good show freshman year. I think junior year was also a not so great show. Oh yeah, come on, Bob.
Oh right.
That show was, yeah. We played that. It was awful.
Sorry.
But the Scream year, sophomore year, that was Garbone's first year with us, was absolutely phenomenal. So we're thinking when we had a not so great year, the following year, we're like, senior years, God, it's gonna be so bad. We were at band camp and I remember playing this for the first time and said, we're going to win everything. We are going to win everything because for band camp, we were separated from the drum line. So they're learning their thing. We're learning our thing music wise. And then you come together and you have drill stuff. So you learn the drill. And then in the evening, you do the whole run through with everyone. So we didn't really know what was going on with the drum line. And they didn't really know what was going on with us. But when you finally do this run through with everyone on the last day, with your parents there and everything, it blew our mind. So it was almost like we knew, you know what, we had this swagger about us. This is going to be the show. And sure enough, the first competition we did was the Heartland Invitational in Wauchula, Florida. And we're playing, our band was smaller. I would say we 75 people at the most. And, you have the JP Terabellas and the Creek and all of those schools. Do you remember saying Beat Creek at competitions? We used to say that all the time.
I don't remember it, but yes, I remember the thing. I remember all the things we used to say when you like
Yeah.
get called to attention.
Yep. And that was one of
Yeah.
them because we wanted that band was like 200 piece. And, you start seeing all of these great, we're like, oh, we're freaking good. What do you mean? We're great musicians. And, we were doing yoga at band camp before it was cool. We were literally it
absolutely.
was like yoga and meditation type things, and visualizing. Our horn instructor would have us all laying down and even outside on the pavement.
Yeah. We'd be in the middle of running through everything,
Yeah.
practicing, and he would stop us all and be like, everyone lay down right where you are.
Yep.
And then go through this meditation.
To like
it was all
yourselves.
it was all about his metaphor was, starting from the top of your head, and it was like, let the water run out, and then there were little drains on the ground, and just let all of that run out of your body into the drains and away. And none of us knew like this was
What the heck we're doing.
meditation or whatever. It was just like, oh, this is really cool. And then after when we got up, we're like,
you're clear.
I feel better.
Yeah.
I feel better.
And you don't connect those dots until again later. And I started realizing, holy crap, that was why we had such great performances, and we were able to let go and be free and just let everything come through those horns. And I mean, it's the same feeling that I would have when I would play sports. Same exact thing. And I mean, that song, that whole show was just incredible. Thank you, Carbone. Seriously.
Yeah.
And thank you for bringing all those memories back up. I mean, this is
absolutely.
When I saw Yanni on the list, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is going to be so good.
So is it good that I'm constantly living in the past, or?
Well, it's your life.
Right.
We're asking about your
we're
life.
asking you to reflect back, right? So
I mean, it's a
purpose-driven, purpose-driven discussion.
Yeah,
it's a definite question I have, in putting this podcast together and wanting to have these conversations. Is it, are we doing this sort of just unhealthy nostalgia where we just aren't living in the present and we're just living in the past?
Mm-hmm.
And I see it as, we talk about our past because a lot of times we don't, right? We don't go back and kind of, think it through and talk it through and all those types of things. And so I see it as, we're going through the past to give us guidance and insight for now and what's coming forward in ways, right? I see it as, we're telling these stories, and hopefully people listen to them. It opens them up a little bit. Makes them feel a little bit connected, makes them feel like they're not alone and stuff, which is all about moving forward, right?
Mm-hmm.
As we get older, I think we sometimes forget what gave us so much energy as a kid, what gave us so much excitement, what made us happy. I tend to talk about a lot, either when I'm facilitating or when I'm just at work. People are always like, how do you have so much energy at work? You're constantly smiling. You're always, and I don't tell them this, but I do that because if I really sat down and thought about all the frustrations or the tragedies that I've had in my family and I've had just in my life overall, I probably would not be in a good place. So having gone through, depression and things like that, and having anxiety currently, I have to do those things. So I've had to consciously sit down and think, what are those things that bring me joy? And those things that bring me joy is music. Playing music. I cared about absolutely nothing throughout high school, not even classes. Nothing but music. Music was my everything. It wrapped me up inside. Like I mentioned earlier, that song was my blanket. Even now, I don't do very much without some sort of music, some sort of, when some of my folks at work, they say, you're like a walking jukebox. You're constantly either humming or singing or something, and it's taken me a while to really realize and come to the conclusion that wow, I really, that was why I was so into music back then, because it just gave me this feeling inside. So, I joke when I say, "Oh, I'm living in the past," but no, man, there's just some days where I need to relive those moments and of Yanni, and I loved my horn. I loved my horn, man. So I still may or may not have a euphonium in my garage.
Nice. I'll bust that out.
Right. I need to get
like bust it out like the high school football letterman jacket. Look at me.
That literally is what my kid said to me one time. What are you? Is this like your jacket or something? Why do you still have this thing? You don't even play it. You don't understand. You just don't understand.
I hear you. I was not in band. I don't play any instruments. I love music, but I'm not a musician. And when I just love watching the three of you just like flow down memory lane, because I can clearly see the effect this had on all of you. When I was listening to the song preparing for this, I was like, I've heard of Yanni, but I wasn't super familiar with like just the fact that they're instrumentals. So I'm listening to it on the couch, and I turned to David and I'm like, there's no words to the song. And he was like, I'm going to just stop you right there. This has to do with band.
About Yanni like that.
He was like, look, you don't get it. You're not going to get it. This is about band. We'll talk about it on the podcast, but like, that's what this is. And I was like, okay, all right. And so watching the three of you just like joyfully relive this time in your life is really fun for me to watch. I think for a number of different reasons, high school can be just so fucking hard that you just got to find whatever way to get through it and survive. You're trying to find yourself. You're like not finished developing, all kinds of external sources out there, from bullying to just romantic issues to your family. Like it's just a rough time that you got to get through. And so if this is what did it for all of you and gave you like community and gave you clearly some lessons and things that you're still pulling from today, much later in your lives, like it's really awesome to watch.
Wait, not much later, just later. You
just a little later, like a hot second later. Not too much.
Way eons down the road now. Yeah. I mean, I going back to kind of the nostalgia question and stuff, like I see it in this way of, and Andrea, when you were just explaining that and seeing your passion that you had and have for music that I saw in you, right? Like Raza said, my memory of you is a badass, right? Like you said, like you were,
she had the bandana and the horn. It's just, I'm gonna kill this. I'm gonna kill this. Yanni.
Just that energy you brought with everything, it just wonderful. And I see it in a way a little bit of like we said, as we get out of and we become adults and do these things, we can start doing things we think we're supposed to do, right? I'm supposed to be, it's time to grow up. It's this, and that was what I did when I left high school and went to college. I didn't do music. I wasn't in band or anything like that. And that was my life before that. I was in every band, marching band, jazz band, symphonic band, orchestra, winter guard, winter drum line, like
New Star.
Jesus. Yeah. all of that. And then after I stopped and went to college and just sort of was like, oh, it's time to like, I guess I'll major in criminal justice and go to law school and be a lawyer. And, these, no offense against lawyers, Raza, I know you're a lawyer. Sorry. I realized as I was saying that didn't come out the best way. But what I meant was with that is that I didn't really have an interest or passion in that. It was just sort of like what I felt like I'm supposed to do. I'm somewhat smart, I guess, had the ability to go to college and whatever. So this is what I'm supposed to do. And I think kind of going back to some of these points, whether it's a point in high school or a point later in life, but you're looking back, where you were passionate about something with
Yeah.
this pure commitment. Like you said, we didn't think about anything else,
Yep.
right? That was life.
Yep.
That's helped me now 20 some odd years after it, having, you know, gone this road of the military and academia and middle school, high school teaching and veteran services and stuff, to get to a point where I'm like, you know, what are the things I really value and really kind of inspire me? And it's, you know, it's music in just so many ways, which is, you know, where the idea for these conversations in this podcast came from. So yeah, I just really appreciate you sharing all that and having this conversation. It's great.
Yeah, we got to do a better job of being okay with that piece, right? I know it's something that my wife and I want to make sure our kids know. Like, look, we want you to be happy, and you can still be happy in whatever work you choose to do if you're doing something that you enjoy. So try to pull those things. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure my kids would enjoy to play video games all day, every day, right? There's a place for folks who want to do that. There is a job. So if you want to do that job, right? Say they want to be a streamer. I remember one of our kids wanted to be a streamer, and we said, all right, you love playing video games, but do you know what else goes into that? Like, there's other pieces and aspects of work that go into that. So figure that out. We'll get the equipment, we'll buy this, we'll do this, we'll get the equipment, but you enjoy playing video games, but there's another piece that goes along with that if you want to be a streamer playing video games and doing only that, right? So I think that if you don't know that piece of it, then you may have to transition and do something else. But it was very strange and almost sad for me to hear that you just kind of were like, nope, bye-bye music, right? Because let me tell you, we all knew Rush was that thing for you, right? And, you know, drummer, there's just, you know, first and foremost, thank you, both of you, for the kind words you said about me from high school and this badass term you choose to throw around. It's just, for me, it just spoke to me, and I felt you were the same way. So to hear that you just kind of went to college and you're like, I'm good with music, and that's strange to hear, but I'm glad you've really kind of reconnected with that later on and realized, I don't want to be a lawyer. Sorry, Raza.
I always thought back to, because I was only in band for a year, right? And I've had, not to get all introspective and so this episode is not about me.
Clearly,
but just
yeah.
But
it's not about me, but I'm going to make it about me.
Well, I'm about to bring it back to all you guys in just a second, hopefully.
There you go.
But I always wondered, you know, I always saw the passion in everyone that was in band camp about music and things like that. I didn't recognize it as much until, you know, very recently. But yeah, so I did band for a year, and I think junior, senior year was just like, okay, you know, all sorts of, you know, our family dynamic at home was that, okay, look, high school is for a purpose to get to college. So do whatever you need to do to get to college, and then, you know, become someone, lawyer or whatever. So it was like, but anyway, so I did band. I did it for a year. And then, you know, like I said, you know, we haven't, I mean, Andrea, I haven't, you know, this is the first time we've connected in like 30 some odd years.
Stop adding decades.
Bro.
I'm sorry.
I love how we just keep rounding up too. It's like in 20 years, we're at 25
30.
years, 30.
And I did the quick math in my head. I'm like, no, bro, it wasn't 30. Stop. It's not 30 yet.
Okay. 20 and a half.
A long time.
20 and a half.
In a long time.
It's been a long time. And that's why I'm a lawyer, because I suck at math.
Oh my God.
But one of the question marks in my life was that, you know I love music. I love playing music. I'm all about music. I only did band for a year. and it's like, what will come of it? And honestly, like I reconnected with Dave over veterans advocacy and things like that, and I wanted to know about his experience. And my practice at the time was about veterans advocacy and representing veterans in their disability compensation cases. And I was like, well, my buddy Dave from band, and there was about a gap of a few decades that I was trying, that there was like a blank space, right? But the only connection to this guy and now you and now this podcast is that 1 year in band. And so for me, that question mark of, does this matter? Does that passion that was there for a year matter? Does Wauchula matter? I think it does, because it's culminated in this, and I really appreciate that.
Yeah. And what's really, really funny, Raza, is hearing you say you were only in for a year. I said, holy crap, like, that's right. Oh shit, he was only there for a year. But you were seared in my brain, right? Because it was Raza, the dude with the awesome hair, and you were just so nice, and you were fairly quiet, because everyone was quiet compared to my loud mouth self. But I mean, again, it was, you were still someone that I knew, right? It was there. I guarantee you, if there's some people where I'm like, I don't remember who the heck you're talking about right now. But for someone who was only there for a year, you clearly had an impact on me as well. But it was because as soon as I heard Dave say her name, I was like, yo, Raza, what the hell? But
no, thank you.
Thank you. That's pretty,
and you're always nice to me. Like I said, I'm sure this is probably the first time that we've had like an in-depth conversation as an adult, because we were kids then. We were, who knows, right? Yeah. But yeah, no, you were definitely nice to me, and other than that, you were a fucking badass, and that's all that matters.
Why do we keep saying I was a badass? I was all right. I may or may not have won the John Philip Sousa Award, but it's no big deal. It goes to the best musician in the band. It's not a big deal. We're not talking about that.
When I say badass, here's what I mean. I mean that someone who takes their shit seriously. And you took that horn seriously, man. And I because we are band nerds, let's be honest. Band, we are not on the football team, but when we were in it, we took it seriously, and we certainly got a lot out of that experience as a whole. Yeah. So when I say badass, that's what I mean. That you were passionate about what you were doing. You knew your place within the section. You knew this Yanni, composition, concoction, amalgamation that had been created. And man, we rocked that shit. And yes, we kicked ass at Wauchula and the Heartland Invitational, and
every award we could possibly get, we got it. It was 17. Yeah. We walked away with 17 awards that day. Yeah, it was nuts. It was like best for this, best for this, best for this. I was like, yo,
you have a much better memory than I do.
Because I take so much pride in that show specifically, because it was. I had a lot of solos in that show, and I think the one regret I have is never marching drum corps, because I couldn't afford drum corps, but I remember being able to get scholarships or whatnot, but then I never asked my mom could I do it, because I didn't think she would let me take charity or to do that and be gone for the whole summer, right? But so that
for those listeners out there that don't know what drum corps is and are a little bit confused by all of this marching band talk or whatever. So marching band, what? Yeah. For Carolina and everyone else. So most people know marching band, that's associated with high school, plays at the football game and stuff. We're all familiar with that. There's also a thing called drum corps that happens in the summer, and these are sort of regional groups, and you can perform in them up till 21. They go on tour over the summer, and they tour around and play all these competitions. So it's all the drum corps competing against each other. And it's kind of like the cream of the crop. You're good at marching band, you have to try out. Yeah. It's intense, but it's a full on commitment. And so, So and I had that's what Andrea,
I had the opportunity.
Yeah. Me too. Me too. In that same way.
So that was my core, right? That Yanni year was my core, because I think at that was when I realized how good I was. I think that was really, like, I thought I was a pretty decent musician, pretty good, but that was when I realized how really good I was,
Yeah.
at not just my horn, but at music as a whole. And because I started playing piano. And Raza, it's funny, you talk about not being able to read music. I can read music and I play by ear and have perfect pitch. So
Wow.
a lot of what I did, because I started arranging different things and did it all by ear, and I didn't realize how talented you have to be to play things by ear, because I read music. I almost took that piece for granted. But my my father, my biological father, he's a musician. He played guitar and bass and keys and all of that. And then my grandfather played, so music was just all around me, and I was supposed to be a musician for sure. So
Nice.
yeah,
I
down
I
memory
love
lane.
this conversation for the life lessons that I think it teaches us, right? Like, you can try and stray from that thing at your core that you're super super passionate about, but look at us
Yeah.
years later, literally sitting here talking about music and the role that it plays in our lives
Yep.
still. I think you can run, but not too far. I think those things follow you.
For sure.
Um, and, as an advocate for arts education, how it saves youth and brings purpose and meaning to their life. Um, yeah, I think if there's a lesson here, it might be not to ignore that thing that you're super
Yeah.
passionate about. I think it causes challenges and pains when we try and run from our calling, our
So
thing,
true.
right?
So true.
And so I've loved to hear you all just like passionately love this song. It's Yanni's song. And like remember that time. But we also have music out there in our lives that we struggle to listen to, that's deeply connected to pain or trauma in our lives. And so we're gonna divert a little bit and ask you of a song that you struggle to listen to, or maybe even have to turn off because it brings up difficult memories. What is that for you?
Oh yeah. There's a couple. There's actually two, believe it or not. But the main one is "Best Friend" by Brandy. Brandy wrote that. I don't think she wrote it. I'm not really sure if she wrote it, but she sings that song, and she's singing it to her brother, who she's really close with, Ray J. Uh, so who also made music. It was pretty bad, by the way. But anyway, you didn't hear me say that, Ray J. If you hear this, Ray J actually dated Whitney Houston. That's how we bring that full circle. Anyway,
It's
she,
gonna be 6 degrees from Whitney Houston
I
instead of
know,
Kevin
every
Bacon.
time, every time. We need to rename it now. This episode. So she in the video, it's her and her brother, and they're dancing and they're singing, and that's how my relationship was with my brother. And my brother actually passed away in 2016, the day after his birthday. So he actually was in the hospital on his birthday. He was in the hospital for a little bit, and I just remember my last conversation. So that every time I hear that song, because I used to sing it, and we used to playfully do the same dance that Brandy would and Ray J would do in the video. And another 90s kind of musician with Brandy. And um yeah, I'll be, have a different playlist on repeat, and then all of a sudden that song will come on, and whoop, next.
Yeah.
I think I don't I can honestly say I don't think I've played that song all the way through without bursting into tears. And I'm talking about full on ugly cry. My
It's
brother,
not even right.
he had a lot going on, drugs, in and out of prison. But when his kids were born, he was just such a fantastic father. Still was struggling with drugs, but just a phenomenal father. And his daughter was diagnosed, my niece Kiara was diagnosed with leukemia at 3. And I, it was just crazy, everything that happened along with that. And she was back and forth in the hospital, and she ended up getting through it. Absolutely loved Frozen. So Let It Go is the other song I can't really get through. And she would sing. I just have these videos of her in the hospital and she's singing Let It Go. I'm like, girl, stop. And she actually passed away at 7 in February of 2016. So 8 months later, my brother died. Same year. During that time, I talked about Raza's hair. I had dreads. So I had dreads for years. And I think I was on my 7th or 8th year or something like that, 9th year of my dreads. And they were halfway down my back. I had to clip them sometimes because they would get too long, and you wrap them up and everything. And I'm not religious. I call myself spiritual, and I just felt the weight of everything. And then on December 23rd, 2016, I just cut my dreads off. I couldn't do it anymore. And it was almost like this weight I was trying to lift, but I never really still dealt with my brother's death. And still to this day, it's just still a struggle. So yeah. That freaking song, man.
I know.
Every time.
So I'm going to apologize because we're going to take a brief listen.
Yeah. I'm ready.
For those that aren't familiar with the
Where's
song,
the
just
tissue?
so they can get a slight feel for it.
Yeah, it's already welting up. You didn't play the song yet.
Hang in there. It's just a little bit.
Oh my God.
Yeah. We're going to get through it. Here we go.
Yeah.
'Cause I'm your sister and always for you, and I don't know what I'd ever do without you. You've always been here, you'll always be, so I'll call you my best friend. The good times and the bad ones, whether I lose or if I win, changes, and that's you. I don't know without you from the beginning till the end.
Yeah. He was my dude, man.
How's it feel? Yeah, listening to it now, even just a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, I just think about all the tough things he went through and, did, and selling drugs to being on drugs to prison, and, just how hard it was. And I don't think I've ever really talked much about it. But when my niece had leukemia and they found out, and she had a really rare form of leukemia, but she had to they wanted to test everyone bone marrow for a perspective, and they tested her bone marrow, and the only match was my brother. And that was when we found out he actually had AIDS. That was when we all found out, and he knew he hadn't told anybody. And yeah, it's just those kind of things that happen. So he had already had a collapsed lung and just all of these things. And sometimes you think about the people who have passed away, and a lot of people, they tend to regret, man, I wish I would have said this, and I wish I would have said this. And I always told my brother I loved him, even though, he did some pretty, not so good things, and he did some not so good things that affected me. But they're not themselves, when they're on drugs and they're doing those things. He had taken my car. One time I came downstairs getting ready for work, and my car's gone. And, he had sold it. So, having to report it, and then he went missing, and it's just all these things. But at the end of the day, that man, he loved me, man. He was proud of me. He loved me. When I still have this card, he sent me this Easter card I don't even know why it was an Easter card, but he sent me this Easter card, and in it he writes about how my brother's penmanship. Can we just talk about the fact that my brother's penmanship was so incredibly like you remember how girls would like write with these big bubble letters and their
Yeah,
penmanship
yeah,
was so
yeah.
great. That's how
Yeah,
my
yeah,
brother
yeah.
wrote. So I look
Oh,
at that sometimes.
wow.
I'm like,
wow.
dang, this man had such great penmanship. Mine sucks. Sucks. But he could draw, and he was so great at drawing. And watching my son draw, it just I draw that parallel with my brother. And he in this card he talks about how he is so proud of me, and so I keep that close to my heart. And my mom lives with us currently, and she lived in this complex, and it got hit by a hurricane, so she lost everything in that. But in her house were the urns of my brother and my niece, and I had so much anxiety because we couldn't get into the apartment for months. It was about 3 months before we could finally get in there.
Mhm.
And it was because it was pretty much condemned. And
Sure.
that entire time, I mean, this was recent. This was a year and a half ago or so. And I couldn't breathe. It was just such a struggle for me not to know what was going on with their ashes, and to know it could be bad. And luckily everything was okay. And those were pretty much the only things that were salvageable were the urns.
Yeah.
The photos and pictures, everything was strewn all over because the water went into their apartments, like,
Right.
and it
right.
was up, but they were okay. And so I just think about that, and all of that is what this song brings up. Just all of that stuff, things just flash through when you've had this kind of really close loss.
Yeah. It's like a wave,
Mhm.
like a wave of memories that just like overtake you
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
a song.
One song. That's the
Song,
only song. Those two songs, we can't even watch the movie Frozen. My wife and I, we can't even watch it. But that song, I could do a little bit more of the Frozen piece, and I've had this conversation with my wife. You would think that a young kid passing away so young would probably devastate me the most, but it's my brother, because I wasn't as close to my sister as I was my brother. We were only 3 years apart. Ironically, by the time we got to high school, David, my brother was still a freshman. Like, he was supposed to be like a junior or a senior, and he was actually still a freshman. So finally, we're like, yeah, we don't think school's gonna work out. So he left. By the time I caught up to him, he's like, yeah, Ma, I don't want to do this anymore. So he actually ended up going to Job Corps and then getting his GED. But he was really my closest friend, my closest person. So then when he went to prison, I was still in I believe I was still in high school. I think it was like our senior year, and he ended up going to prison. And I was so angry with him because he left me. He was really the only person I would talk to all the time, because my mom was working 2 jobs. She never really came to any of my band things or anything. So like, my brother was like that guy. He was my dude. I wanted to be just like him. I wore his clothes, like back when the TLC baggy look. That was me. That was me. And so but I am really proud, though, because it makes me think about the last words I said to my brother. It was on his birthday. He was in the hospital, and we were talking, and last thing I said to him was, I love you. And he told me he loved me. And I said, now get your behind out of there so that we can go chill. And that night, he coded, and my mom called my wife because she knew how close I was with him. She called my wife and said, listen, here's the deal. this is what's happening. He's on a respirator or he's on a ventilator. You guys need to get here now. But you need to tell her. And so it's 2:00 in the morning. My mom's calling. Why were we up at 2? I have no idea. But that my wife told me, and we left. We left and drove. They were living in Palm Coast at the time, and drove up there, and I watched my brother die right in front of me, and it was terrible. It's terrible.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, it's amazing how so many memories, so many parts of our life can be very blurry, and some are just
vivid.
The moment by moment is just seared forever.
Everything.
And then when music like brings all that back up.
Yep. Thanks by the way. Thanks. Appreciate it.
Thanks. Oh my goodness.
What's the next
All right,
one?
I'm gonna pivot us out of here. I'm gonna pivot us out of here.
People are gonna we're gonna ask other people to be on the podcast, and they're like, "No, I saw what you do to people, and you like bring them on and wreck them."
I want to do that. We're gonna go watch Frozen.
Oh my
I guarantee you,
goodness.
my wife and I now. We're gonna go watch Frozen and just sit.
I'm gonna pivot us out of here because just like music brings us to very dark moments, it can also intimately connect us with amazing times in our lives, with all kinds of other like just uplifting and badass or just awesome memories. So we're gonna finish your 6 songs here, Andrea, with asking you about a song that is intimately connected with another activity, location, like something that just instantly transports you to that place. What is it?
In contrast to the last song we just talked about, it's definitely "Let's Go" by Trick Daddy. Shout out to all the South Floridaites. Is that a thing? We're making it.
Yes.
Yeah, man.
It is today.
Trick Daddy, Let's Go. I played tackle football for about 8 or 9 years, and that was my thing. I have no idea why I didn't play high school football. I wish I would have played because that's how much I loved it. I mean, I was locked in. Raza, you talk about how like I was so locked in playing my horn. That's what I was on the field. And when
see, badass.
I know. She's like, I don't know why you think of me as a badass, and then the next minute she's like, I play tackle football.
People have definitely called me that. My nickname's A Train. Literally everyone called me that, which ironically I didn't get that nickname from football. I actually got it from playing basketball. I know you're not supposed to be a train on a basketball court, but
right.
I played
machine.
I played JUCO basketball at Daytona, and the baseball coach there, shout out to Coach Tuma, I credit him for this nickname. He called me A Train. He's like, you're like an A train out there. You're like a freight train. They better get out of your way when you're out there on the court. And so it just was definitely fitting. I was supposed to play football with that nickname, but I played O-line and D-line, and a few times I played fullback and just pushing people into the end zone. And but every time I would get to the field, I kind of had this weird ritual. I think all athletes do.
All athletes have that thing that puts them in the zone. Yeah.
Yeah. I played older, a little older. It was a women's league, and my son would be at the practices, and it was just so fantastic. And he had this Spider-Man costume, and because he would always want to come to the games with me. I'm like, kid, I can't, RJ, I can't bring you to the games, all the games, but I'll make sure I have something to take. So he gave me a Spider-Man mask. He's like, just take this, Mom. I was like, all right. So I would wear the mask. I would actually, nice. I've got a tiny head, dude. So of course I could wear it. I would wear the
I'm
mask.
having a visual here of you on a sideline, like putting this thing on.
No. I wouldn't do it on the sideline. I would walk in. So when we would get there, you have to be there, a few hours before the game. So I would get out of the car, I'd grab my bag, my shoulder pads, and I would walk in from the parking lot all the way to wherever we were. If we drove to wherever we were, I didn't care if it was an away game or home game. I would always have this Spider-Man mask on, and I wore the Spider-Man mask for about 3 years. Spider-Man mask. Now imagine this almost 6 foot burly black woman with this. I think back, I'm like, God dang, I was weird. Big Spider-Man mask on, and it's tight on my face. All you could see is my eyes. And then I'm walking with a bag and shoulder pads and a helmet, and I'm walking to the locker room like this. People are there, but I'm tunnel vision. I don't even see them because I'm just I got headphones on. I'm just focused, and the song that's playing is "Let's Go" by Trick Daddy. On the way to the locker room.
Let's take a listen. And now you have the visual that goes with what we're about to listen to. Just and if that's not intimidating as fuck as your opposing team, like I don't know what is. Hit it, David.
It's a lot of fuck niggas in the club tonight. Fuck them. But it's gonna be alright. Cause me and my clique, we don't give a fuck. We don't give a fuck, nigga. Trick Daddy. Let's go. If you want it, you can get it. Let me know. I'm about to fuck a nigga up. Let's go. If you want it, you can get it. Let me know. I'm about to fuck a nigga up.
If you want some, come get some. Cause where I'm from, we throw big guns. And everybody knows somebody that knows somebody that knows something about it. And I want answers now. Who, what, where, why. See,
all the South Florida people.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man.
I'm so glad you had this song on there because, this has been this through line in these first 4 episodes. All 4 of us grew up in South Florida, and we've all had these South Florida connections to this South Florida rap, hip hop, just booty music, all just
Power 96, baby.
Yeah, party at
Power 96.
Power 96.
DJ Laz and everything.
DJ Laz. Yeah, man, that song would start the multiple songs. So that song would be my song to walk to the locker room because, again, it's me transforming from Peter Parker to Spider-Man, right? It's me. You remember the Spider-Man when it was the Tobey Maguire one where he was the black Spider-Man and he like had his hair all slicked back and he was walking. But that just really started a thing, and my teammates knew, don't talk to me, right? They knew, do not talk to me until we're on the field and we're ready to. I'm in the huddle. So I was the Ray Lewis essentially of my team. I don't know if you probably could guess that, but I was the Ray Lewis in the middle of the circle, hyping everyone up, telling everyone, let's fucking go kick some ass. All of that's me. We actually had a documentary done about our team, and it's called Gridiron Girls. You can buy it now online for $15.99. But
link will be in the show notes.
But in that video, in that documentary, I'll sometimes look at it and say, yeah, it truly captured the essence of what I was like on that field, and it was just an absolutely incredible feeling. I wish I was still playing, to be honest. I think football did so much for me mentally. Having gone through various bouts of depression and not naming it, football was that thing for me where I could just release it all. I could beat up on people and not get in trouble because I had a terrible temper. And it allowed me to really hone in on that and really be focused for that entire day pretty much. And then walk off the field and be great friends with the women who were doing that. I mean, lawyers, doctors, teachers, moms, just these incredible, incredible women out here doing this. And that's why I love working with the league that I'm working with. And it's just, with the WNFC, it's just how can we take and elevate these women who are doing extraordinary things and really loving the hell out of this sport. So I didn't just stay with the Spider-Man mask though. I had others throughout the years, but yeah, I'd probably say my favorite was the I had the what is the name of that movie? Silence of the Lambs.
Oh my
yes.
God.
man.
The
Hannibal
Yeah,
Lecter.
yeah. I had that one on there.
Jesus.
I had that one.
I just had this image of, because there's the time where he's like just wearing the mask and you're walking in, but there's also a time where he's like wearing the mask and he's like strapped in the thing. And so I had this image of you being wheeled in, like you're in a straight jacket and they're like, release you right before the game. It's our secret weapon.
Oh, there was no secret.
Imagine
There was no
you're
secret.
on the opposing team and you see Andrea in that mask. You're like, what the hell am I walking
You're like,
into?
Oh, they would.
Am I leaving alive? Am
Well,
I not?
They would. They're fans, right? Like because when you get to the away games and you're going, there's some fans that are sometimes there early or people setting up. Some people would see me and they're like, they wouldn't know what to do. You know how, you would think they would want to laugh, but because I was so big, they're like, oh, it just kind of move like that. And I would not smile. I was not buddy with the other team. That was not how I played. I wasn't a trash talker, but I have gotten kicked out of a game before for fighting. It was
badass.
Not it was not one of my shining moments, but I thought they were trying to take my legs out, and I completely just kind of blacked out and may or may not have thrown a few punches. You could take the girl out of South Florida, but you can't take the South Florida out of the girl.
I think oh, sorry. Go ahead, Raza.
I was just going to ask. If you think about it, if you take a step back, I look at, and I can say this as a band nerd, you think of either athletes or you think of band-oriented folks, and I think you have sort of this distinction of being both.
Yeah.
And one other like common thing that I'm seeing is just this like tunnel vision focus. I remember that in band and the way that you've described, this the Gridiron Girls experience focus, right? To the point of just being like imposing and getting shit done. I wonder if you could maybe talk about that a little bit. Just where does this focus come from? Because you were able to focus, back in high school. This focus theme is coming up now, and maybe where do you see that going in the future?
Yeah.
What's your next focus going to be?
Gosh. Great question. Thanks, Raza. I think a lot of it comes from not really knowing what I was good at in my life and not really thinking that I was good at anything. So thinking, okay, well, I have to work really hard to be good then, right? I never thought I was good at school. But then I think back now and I was like, oh crap, I did just enough to pass. I literally did just enough to pass. And I think a teacher exposed me in a sense and said, yeah, no, we're going to make you take this AP class your senior year. Like, no, I don't want to do that. And I think at that point, I didn't want to, but he said, yeah, no, you're going to do this. I think at that point, I started realizing, wow, I really am good at things. I just have to continue to work hard. So it really just goes from the work hard. I think it just came natural. Music came natural for me. I didn't have to work hard at it, but I enjoyed it so much that I wanted to work hard at it. And that's kind of the theme of the different things. I talked about earlier how we want our kids to really hone in on what they're good at and actually want to, really do that. And I think that sometimes I really don't like to generalize, but I think right now people are really having a hard time focusing on one thing. And they're having a hard time just overall wanting to do some things, like certain things, and want to really work at it and do it well. Those people that do that are the people that are typically the happiest. And I want to be happy. I think that really is where it all comes from. I want to really enjoy the things, and I want to be good. I'm really competitive. I'm really competitive. So in order for me to achieve those things, I want to be good and I want to enjoy myself with whatever that I'm doing. I have to consciously choose things that have those two elements to it. And I didn't know that until, recently.
It sounded like that teacher challenged you.
Yeah.
And you were like, I'm up for the challenge.
I wasn't really up for the challenge, Raza.
Oh,
I'm gonna be honest.
So why'd you?
I'm gonna be honest. I was not. I didn't want to do it.
Yeah.
Did you take the class? You took it, and you
freaking class, David. Yeah, I did.
And
it was AP Government and Economics. I'll never forget it. I know the teacher. His name's escaping me right now, but the teacher, ironically, was actually the principal at Douglas when
Ty Thompson.
It is Ty. Yep, he was the principal at Douglas when the shooting happened. Yep.
Oh my goodness.
Yep. And I saw him on the screen talking, and I said, "That's my AP Government Economics teacher." But yeah, so Ty Thompson. Yep, that is his name.
Ty Thompson.
I just remember his cool flat top. He had like this really cool flat top for a white dude. It was tiny. It was like this little tiny top. But it was a catalyst for a lot of things. It was a catalyst for me realizing, oh my God, I really am kind of smart. But he was my junior year. He was my teacher for U.S. history or whatever we had to take. And he said, I think you should take this class. I'm like, nah, man, dude, I'm not that smart. Nah, he's like, I'm a banner. I don't do that. But I think that's really what started this kind of deal of, if I just really focus on something, I could be good. I could be great. And I didn't really have, I know a lot of folks in their family, they're taught those kind of things. And I don't really have many memories of that kind of thing. I just know that I knew my mom worked hard because she had 2 jobs. So that was kind of what I saw there. Right. So I think my work ethic came from my mom, but really taking the time to put time and energy into focusing and doing something well, I think that came from David Carbone and Ty Thompson, honestly. Continuing to name drop that guy, because freaking Carbone, man. we were delinquents. Nice. We were delinquents.
I hope he hears this episode.
Oh, I'm gonna send it to him. I'm like, yo, man, you gotta hear this, dude.
There's no hoping. We are sending it to
I
him.
want to see him. I still have okay, this is like borderline creepy. I still have, the photos, like senior photos and stuff that you take. Well, the teachers take them too, and I literally have our both photo.
Whoa.
With the bow tie?
He didn't have on a bow tie, but he had on this vest. I just looked at it like 3 days ago when I was looking for something else. I've got like this little thing of these different photos and of all these different people. And his photo was in there. I just laughed with his little drumsticks or something. Said, why did he give me this? It's weird. But
that's funny.
But you kept it. Like
Even
you've got to
weirder.
you got to be some special kind of educator for a kid to keep your picture.
Yeah,
through into adulthood, because there's times you purge, you're like, I don't need this shit, like
Right.
But you're like, no, Mr. Carbone, you're staying with me for life.
But that's the impact music had on me.
Yeah.
And he brought me that. I think my grandfather introduced me to different things as well from a music perspective, and he was really proud that I was in band. He loved it because I was the only one. Yeah, I'm the only one that really went down that path of music as hard as I did, like my grandfather. He used to play background bass in one of James Brown's bands years and years ago. That's where you used a long time ago and a way back is with someone like that, not with us.
James Brown.
We're not there
yet. We're not there yet.
Not there. So
we're spring chickens, we are.
Yeah. So for it, and I love that you kind of talked about this little thing because usually people think, for Raza, usually people think, okay, you're either the band nerd or you're the athlete, and I really don't think that was me. I didn't fit into that box because sports was so important to me. And, you talked about we weren't the football team. Yeah, but I knew everyone on the football team, right? Mm-hmm. Like those were also my people. So it was interesting. I had this, when I think back to my high school friends, I had this weird eclectic group of people. And I look now at my friend set and I still have this eclectic group of friends that everyone's not the same. And it just bring it all around. This is, I think, why I'm in the work in the line of business that I'm in, from a culture and an inclusionary perspective, because I really think I'm kind of a conduit for all of these people to connect.
Yeah.
Because I'm a chameleon, unicorn, all those badass, apparently, all those words. And I was good at football too. God, I was good.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I loved it.
All right, Andrea, we have hit your 6 songs.
Unreal.
And it bears asking, after going through an experience like this, right? Of telling your life story, but through music. How does it feel to listen and see your life reflected through these 6 songs?
Strange, right? A little strange. Only because you don't really sit down and think of it in that way. You just think of these different moments that happen and you're like, oh, okay, well, that evokes this feeling. I want to get away from that feeling. It evokes this. And I think this has really allowed me to sit in it and talk about it with people and to share similarities with each of you, right? Carolina, I've never met you a day in my life, but I feel like I've known you forever, because we have that South Florida connection and some of those parallels. So for me, I felt like I was able to reconnect with 2 incredible people and then really, get close to another human being, which I absolutely love. So thank you all. I'm so grateful. And even though I had some tears and, I'll beat you all up later about that, but because badasses, we can't show our emotions. No, I'm a big old teddy bear. Everyone knows that. Big old teddy bear.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing your life with us and those listening. Absolutely. I hope they love it and take as much from it as we have today.
Appreciate it.
We're going to switch over to our lightning round questions. 3 little questions before we let you sign off. It's super easy.
Where's my Spider-Man mask?
Oh my God, do you have it?
Oh, no, I don't have that one. I do have my last one that I ended my career with, which was a Hulk mask. Still have the Hulk one.
All right.
Andrea, smash.
It was so good. So good.
All right. First concert, last concert, best concert.
All right. Go. So first concert was, can we say this? R. Kelly and Aaliyah. All right. No, but
I saw them too. Where did you see them? Because maybe we were there.
It was it Sunrise Musical Theater?
Oh, no, it was the James L. Knight Center.
No, it was James L. Knight Center. It was the James L. Knight Center. Was Heavy D there?
I don't remember, but I remember it was R. Kelly
Yes.
and Aaliyah, and I remember all the
It
drama
was
of like
R. Kelly
girls
and
at my
Aaliyah. It
high
was
school that
everything. We
wanted
went
to
there.
go to his hotel after, which now is like the creepy reason he's in prison and like all the things. But
Wow.
listen,
So you all are at the same concert.
Freaking concert. Oh my god. Yeah, that was my first concert. Unpopular opinion, that man was a freaking genius with music, man.
yeah, his music was
So
amazing.
annoying. So annoying. But yes, that was my first one. The last one was supposed to be Beyonce. My wife and I were supposed to go in a couple weeks, but things have come up and we can't go. So the last concert actually was Patti LaBelle. She
Ooh.
Wow.
is so great. So she kicked her shoes off on stage. I mean, that woman gave me such an appreciation just watching her. Like, I want to be that happy, right? That made me, I want to perform. Like I told you, I love singing karaoke and being up there. And my go-to karaoke song, believe it or not, is Wanted Dead or Alive. No lie. I love
By Bon Jovi?
just rock. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Wow.
I rocked the hell out of that song. And watching Patti LaBelle up there and sing, and I'm like, I can do this. I can do it, but I'm so afraid. I'm so afraid, but I absolutely love singing in front of people. And then the best one, John Legend and Robin Thicke.
Ooh.
Definitely the best one. And it was in a nice, we were at the Hard Rock. Robin Thicke wasn't as popular at the time, but he was sitting up there at that. I just remember I was so close I could see his pit stains in his suit jacket.
It's really close.
I was close. It was nasty. But he was so good at that piano. And then I'm thinking, yo, this dude's amazing. And then John Legend comes out, and I'm like, yo, this man's incredible.
Right.
Love it.
With a voice as smooth as butter. Like, he is
So
just...
you just cut right through it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And like
Totally.
John Legend and Bruno Mars for me are the second coming of Prince. Just from because they're musicians, and I tend to really love musicians. When people talk about, oh, this is my favorite, I tend to go right to the musician piece, and man, that concert was absolutely incredible. I love going to concerts at the Hard Rock here in Orlando. It's not, I keep saying Hard Rock. It's not Hard Rock. House of Blues. I meant to say House of Blues.
House of Blues.
Yeah, not Hard Rock.
Yeah.
I don't mean to say Hard Rock. Yeah, House of Blues. Nothing against Hard Rock, but
And
House of Blues.
is that the one that's in like downtown Disney?
Yep.
Is it still there?
Yep, still there. And also saw Jill Scott there. She was freaking incredible. But yeah, those would probably be my ones. I mean, I've seen Alicia Keys, I've seen Janet Jackson, but best was that one was the best. And I think again it goes back to from that I'll never not be a musician. And so I think that's why I err on the best being those musicians. Singers, I love singers, but I mean, Alicia Keys is a musician as well, but I got two for the price of one, and John Legend and Robin Thicke.
I didn't know he played piano. Did you mention Robin Thicke played piano?
He was playing.
I didn't know that either.
I didn't know either.
No.
I
know John Legend does.
Yeah. Pit stains. Just remember pit stains. But yeah, he was on the piano. He was on the keys. Nice. Blew me away. So.
Nice.
My mind was blown when I saw Bruno Mars playing drums really, really well at the Super Bowl, the halftime show that they did. And that, I mean, I love his music and everything. And I love it. It almost sounds like The Police to me. And kind of like the Stuart Copeland kind of influence too, and smooth, like the way in the way that Sting was. But anyway, so and then when he did the drum solo over Super Bowl halftime show,
you're like, what?
I'm like, yo, this guy can do anything, man.
That's Prince. That was Prince.
Yeah.
Talk about Super Bowl.
100%.
Talk about Super Bowl in Miami in the rain, singing Purple Rain.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hands down, best Super Bowl performance. Even though you didn't ask that question, that's a good question to add. That's a good question to
Ooh,
add.
that's a good
Well,
one.
Best
Best
Super
Super
Bowl
Bowl performance.
I mean, Whitney's Super Bowl performance. Come on now.
Stop. Whew.
My work here is done.
Best national anthem. Best
I was gonna say, yeah, the
national
national
ever.
anthem one.
I don't know.
Best
What year was that? Anybody know? Or
1988.
quickly Google?
90?
I think it was
right.
88? Okay.
No, I think you might be right.
89 or 90,
It was in Tampa for sure. Oh man, I can't remember what year that was. I want to say it may have been either 90 or 91 actually. I remember what she looked like. I know the story behind it. One take. That was one take. Because usually they lip sync that, but it was one take.
Yeah.
She didn't even listen to it all the way through. When she got the recording from Ricky Minor, who was her band band guy. Sorry, look, Whitney, too many facts.
Good.
He tells his story and he's like, she got it. She didn't listen to it right away. I was getting nervous. It was time for us to record it. I was getting nervous. I didn't know what was going on. He said he played it and she hummed and she said, okay, I got it. And he said, I was so nervous. He said, I was so nervous. And that was the effing take. That was the take.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unreal.
So it was
Unreal.
it was 1991.
Yeah. I think so, yeah.
And for me, I still can't listen to a live rendition of the national anthem and not she is the standard to which I hold every rendition of the national anthem.
Yep.
And even when people try
to same.
I don't know, elaborate on it or lengthen notes, whatever. I'm like, don't get weird with it. Like Whitney did it. That's it.
Yep.
It's been done.
And it was at such a time David, thank you for your service. Like it was at such a time when the world was worried about, everything and everyone came together. And I think I use that when folks talk about the issues with the anthem and all of that, I go back to that and I play that and I get excited about that. And I say, stop the arguing. Just listen to this. You cannot not be moved by hearing that. It makes me, I am an American and I am proud to be an American. For at least I know I'm free. No, I'm proud. I'm proud, and I hear that. So that's what I hear whenever the anthem is played anywhere. I hear that, and then I hear nights, because in the song it says, something about night, and at UCF football games, and at they say night.
They yell, yeah.
The whole stadium. So, and then also at the Orlando City soccer games here in Orlando. So we're a little weird with it, us UCF Knights, but that I go back to that. That rendition is hands down the best ever. Y'all are great. Y'all are great.
We have come to the end of our time. And so I know.
See, everything.
End of the road here. So
Voice to Men.
In the last few minutes here we have left, we want to give you the floor to tell people, those who are listening, what's going on in your life, something that may be interested, and for those who are interested and want to get to know you a little better, how they can reach out and contact you.
Yeah. Please reach out, email me, call me, email me at andrea.sneed@usta.com. I work for the USTA, not to be confused with the USDA. No meat. I don't sell meat or anything.
Totally different.
That's right. Completely different. Honestly, right now in my life, it's all US Open. All US Open. I'm literally gonna hop off here and do some work. We have the pleasure, our department has the pleasure of doing various activations around tennis and because we say we want to make tennis look like America. It's a little bit of a joke for us, but we want access. Everything's about access. Everything. I love that there's 4 different people from 4 different backgrounds that grew just really the symbiosis between us as we grew up in the same area. So we know some of the same things, but at the end of the day, we all grew up differently, but we all have things in common, and that's the common thread. And I think for me, that's what DE&I work is about. That's what inclusivity is about. That's what culture is about. Finding those similarities and being able to really draw from that and have a connection and connect. So that's what this is about for me. I'm so grateful and so appreciative, and I really am serious. If folks want to get in touch with me, just please feel free to shoot me an email and let's connect. I'm all about it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks for that. And thanks for being on. This has been just better than I could have expected. It just gives me so much excitement going forward with this podcast, because I feel like this was a great first guest episode. And so for all eternity, you will go down as the first, whether this show goes 7 episodes or 7 years, you will be the first guest.
Ricky Bobby, baby. If you ain't first.
That's right. That's right. If you're first, you're last. Yeah. Shake and bake.
Sorry.
And
had a little flashback.
Yeah. And I think too, like for me, it's my podcast, so I'm going to talk about me for a second.
That's right.
Yeah. But for me, in getting this idea for the podcast and how, like, this endeavor isn't just let's try this and this will be cool. Everyone's doing podcasts. Let's do a podcast. It was a lot of, recovery for me, and this is a healing journey, and this is, part of that. And so to have you on and kind of, bringing me back to a time before I had all of these challenges and struggles and stuff, has just been really, really wonderful. And so I'm just so thankful for connecting with you again and coming back. It's more tears.
Hold it together. We just hold it together.
Hold on. Let me cue up Yolanda Adams again.
No.
Yeah.
Wow. Thank you. I'm glad to be a part of this journey with you.
Yeah. So everyone out there, we know the drill. Like and subscribe. We're going to have more episodes coming, Yep. They're all somewhere. We're still learning how to do that in YouTube, but they'll be there.
They'll either be a box or we're going to look really weird. Just pointing.
That's right.
It's okay.
That's right.
It's all right. We're
just
voguing.
put random.
We're voguing.
Yeah. So stick around, go back to listen to earlier episodes, and we hope you, enjoy being on this journey with us. And so that, my friends, is A Life in 6 Songs. Thank you so much, Andrea.
Thank you.